And welcome back to part 53 of Final Fantasy 15, where today we'll be tackling the Vault Dungeon. There are 8 of them in the game, but as I've said before, we're only going to tackle one just because they're very similar between each one. Just each one is usually longer than the last and has harder enemies than the last. But these concepts and setup of it is the same in every one. But to start it, you need to head over here to this outpost just right of the Vesper Pool. Now, funnily enough, we've never actually been to. There's never a need in the game to go here. And the fact that the closest that you get is the Vesper Pool itself, but once you finish that, you just teleport out of there because of Arenea's airship. So you really never have a reason to go here unless you're going for the Vault Dungeon quest.
Greenhorns, huh?
There's even a shop and a way of getting information here, but there's no one goes here. It's a Hunter's HQ up here. It gained more relevance in Comrades because it was a base of operations you could set up. Because it's tunneled, so you can just put a barricade on both ends and there you go, you've got a controlled environment. But this is Emza, weird lady, that you need to talk to start the Vault Dungeon quest.
I've heard all about you. You and your exploits. I think it's time you took the next step. Don't you?
What next step?
Well, my boy, let me explain. I look after 8 seals. Seals that help protect this kingdom. Maybe you've seen them in your toing and froing. Strange doors tucked away in caves and ruins. This here is the key that opens them all. Beyond each door lurks a terrible evil. One that not even our most seasoned hunters dared to take on. But you're more than that now. That's right. You have the power of kings flowing through your veins. You're the only one I'd trust this key to. No one else.
And there's your general idea of the Vault Dungeons. There's 8 doors scattered around the map. You have to have found all 8 of them before she'll give you the key anyway. I'll bring up the map at some point as well, and you'll see that I'll bring up where all of them are, because they're on your quest list. Yes, you've got right at the trench at the top, you've got the grotto of your waterfall cave. You've got the fossil, you've got the Doral dungeon down there. You've got the mines, you've got the Stayleaf, you've got Crestom channels, and then you've got Costelmark Tower. As you can see, the last one, Costelmark Tower, is till 99. The biggest difference between them is how strong the enemies are in each one. But it's also depending on how many floors it is and how good the loot is, because there's one item on every single floor as you go through the dungeon. In some of the later ones, the loot gets really bloody good. With the 6th one being the biggest highlight, because you can get a weapon stronger than the ultimate weapon for Noctis. It's a short sword that's just stronger and does more damage, and its damage is dependent on your magic stat. And it's very quick and easy to just become more powerful than the ultimate blade. The only other one that's unique is the last one, Costelmark, that if you can really be bothered to go through the whole of Costelmark again to get to that vault door, the dungeon at the end restricts use of items, so you have to actually be careful what you do. Somewhat. Also, a couple of these don't have checkpoints. This one does because it's the introductory one, but just as a fair warning, if you do start going after these, a couple of them will not have checkpoints, so you will have to do it all in one go. But with all the money making schemes that work in the game, if you really need to, you can grind out Phoenix Downs. The only one you'll have to worry about is the last one, but with character swap you should really be able to burn your way through that. Omega Unleashed and the character swap mechanic, yeah, that you shouldn't really have too much trouble getting through that. And yeah, as you can probably hear, my throat is still annoying from yesterday. It's not as bad, thankfully, but it's still annoying. Also, for like the first half of this dungeon, Noxus doesn't turn on his flashlight. There's no manual way of doing it. Nox just has to do it himself. So you see me running in the dark between rooms a lot, because there's just no light whatsoever. It's only when we hit the first checkpoint and I rest there, that afterwards it starts working. And it's just really weird, like why do that? I can only gather the game just didn't pick up I turned it on, but still. Like I went to the dungeon even, but still. It seems like a dumb thing to miss, you know? The first one doesn't have enemies drop too much experience because it is the first one, and the level requirement for it is not that high. Excuse me, but trust me, the later runs can give you a run for your money if you're not prepared. But everyone else, you can see behind me, there's light. Everyone else has got their light on, but Noctis.
Eyes peeled, mouth closed. Gotcha.
Most of the enemies in all of these dungeons are weak to the ring after its buff, so feel free to make the most of it if you want to. Just be wary that enemies will run away from it and try and get some distance out when the fight starts. Additionally, another technique that I don't show off but is very doable. If you time and precisely move your warp strikes, you can completely skip rooms, because the moment you start an encounter it closes a gate on both ends so you can't go past it. But if you can get round to the door and through it without triggering the enemy encounter, you can just go through it. If you don't care for the items, you just want to get a move on, you could just do it. I think it's the 6th one that's the best one for it, because the 6th one, like, most of them have this cave layout, but some of them don't. They have more of a layout that's reminiscent of the ruins that we did, the labyrinth ruins, that name slips my mind. And the ones that have that kind of design thing, their last few floors have their doors right next to each other, so if you just do a sharp warp strike to your left, you can sometimes just make it before the enemies like actually engage you. The bombs are perfect examples, and these guys, it's very easy to skip and go straight to the door because they're blind as a fucking bat, it feels like. So that's the first time in this Let's Play I've let a bomb explode. So now you can actually see what the minor versions look like when they don't have the crowns. A normal bomb.
None the worse for wear.
Bring on the next one.
If you ever get muddled on which door was the door you came in from and which door's the way forward, the path should always be heading down, if not heading along. But if it's ever going back up on yourself, then no, you need to go elsewhere. You're going backwards. If you're ever going up, you're going the wrong way. But sometimes in here, the path will split into 3. 2 paths will always lead to dead ends with loot at them, with 1 path leading on the way forward. To my knowledge, going the wrong way really doesn't benefit that much in the way of loot, so don't worry about it too much if you end up going the right way first time round. The better loot will be on your path at certain rooms. If you want to know where the fancy sword I was on about, honestly, it's the 6th dungeon, and any floor where there's nothing but tonberries on it, make sure to pick up the item, because it's one of them. It's the tonberry floor just before like the first or second rest point. It's before a rest point, I know that much. But I don't know, it's a Tomberry floor. I just can't remember. Like, I can't say, oh, it's exactly floor yada yada, because there's way too many floors in all these dungeons to remember the precise floor. Just if you're looking for that sword, it's in the 6th one, Tomberry floor.
For some well-earned R&R.
See, there's still no light. So you see me kind of spaz the camera left and right as we go to make sure I'm still going the right way. This room you can very easily skip. I even went to try for a second, because I don't like the flans in the dungeons, in the vault dungeons. The flan in the earlier ones are resistant to absolutely everything, and the ones in the later ones will be immune to everything but one element. So you either have to spam magic, or if not, now Ignis is playable, you have to spam Ignis. But the flan are just annoying to deal with. And I'm sure it's going to become very apparent very quickly why I'm only doing one of these. Because this is, what you see is what you get. It's just a wave by wave encounter thing. It's sort of like the like the challenge caves that were in Legend of Zelda Wind Waker and Twilight Princess, where it's just many floors of enemies back to back with some good loot near the end. This is very much one of those things where the loot for doing this is what you get along the way, not the loot you get for completing it, because for completing all of them you just kind of get a mark of pride. You don't really get a proper effective helpful item. So, but if you want to get through it quickly, feel free to skip rooms, because like the 6th or 7th one have like 130 floors and it takes fucking forever. So take every opportunity you can to take shortcuts if you can, because it will take forever otherwise. I try and use a bit of everyone as we go, because believe it or not, in terms of content left to do in the game, this is one of the last times we'll be able to use Prompto, Ignis and Gladiolus properly, like in the main game, because the only other thing that will involve them from here on are their episode specific super bosses and the extra modes for Gladio and Prompto. Here's your checkpoint, by the way, and there's a rare weapon for Gladiolus, the Dominator. And then we rest. And then we rest. Thank you.
Wait, are we seriously sleeping here?
Yes.
Be a better place.
Ding ding. To be fair, in my experience on beating them all, the one that's actually the hardest is the 7th, because in the 8th, despite having a level 99 level requirement, the enemies aren't as strong as they are in the level 7 because they're compensating for the fact you can't use items. Which is a little bit like, because I would have kind of preferred it to be brutal, like to an extent, because then it would justify the having to use a strategy and you think about what you're doing for something that's exclusive to post-game. You can't do this in the main game. Esma won't give you anything until you've opened all the dungeons and beat the game. Well, I think it's open all dungeons, got all royal arms and beat the game, I think are the requirements. But I've never not got the royal arms when I've gone through it, so...
I swear half your photos are selfies. Hashtag sorry not sorry.
Also, Nox just keeps on saying, I swear half your photos are selfies, way too fucking much. Look, he said it again!
Hashtag sorry not sorry.
4th time in 2 parts! He says it way too much. I don't know what's going on with the dialogue, why the coding is making him say that specific line so damn much. But stop it. That's the thing, once we beat the game, once we've done everything, I'm gonna do a video specifically going through all the pictures taken on the journey as in reflection. Also, they leave their camping equipment here. Something that was added later on are these statues here that give you lore about each vault dungeon, so it's not just a gauntlet. Most of them aren't particularly interesting, but like this one is just telling you about the wicked monster that was locked away, with the hope that someone would one day come and kill it. And they mentioned that, oh, maybe we'll find out more as we go on, but no, this is the only checkpoint in this dungeon. The next place we stop, we kill it.
Bad monster and take it down.
Exactly.
I don't disagree with your interpretation, but it lacks nuance. Perhaps seeking more inscriptions will help elucidate their meaning.
I guess it couldn't hurt.
So we carry on. Some more enemies.
They won't know what hit them.
My hero. That wasn't so hard.
Also, yeah, can you see how it was draining from Prompto's machine weapon there? I had to power attack through his healing. Thanks, Prompto.
Back to it.
Right.
And at this point, it was more that it registered for me that since Gladio's got an upgrade, it means Noctis can get his upgrade back, so he can go up to Hyperion. Since that's how I've had it going for the whole game. Where every time Gladio gets a new weapon, it means Noctis will get the next one along.
These old things.
Let's be done with this.
Boom. To be fair, because of how resistant the slimes are to physical attacks, you can use it for some Gladio practice if you want to get the parry timing down a bit more. Their attacks are a bit easy to dodge and they give themselves away a lot, but still. Oh, by the way, in this instance I go the wrong way. We should go into C. But if you go the wrong way in this, you don't find out straight away. It's not one room you have to travel, it's 2 rooms you have to travel before you reach a dead end, and then you just have to backtrack. But of the 3 rooms back there, you're looking for the second one. We went in the first one, so it's literally there's one on your left, one in front, and one to your right sort of thing. The one in front when you enter it is the one you should be going through in this one, if you just want to get through it. So you're going to see, we're going to get down here. There's going to be an enemy encounter, and then I'm going to notice that it's a dead end and go, oh wow. Also, our flashlight's on now, we've rested, so we can actually see as we go down each tunnel. As you've got a little lag spike there. Yeah. See, dead end, so we have to go back. Which reinforces the art of jumping. Also, I missed that item, like, I gotta pick it up. It's just because it was an inventory full, okay. So I didn't miss it, I just couldn't pick it up. But now we're back here, you're gonna see me. So one more door. Now we're back here, you're gonna see me swivel around. And this is the correct door. Even though the way it turns and goes in on itself, like, I'm pretty sure we've like gone into where another room should be. That's the thing, I'd love to see like a layout of this. Like, they turn off the map when you're here, and I think it's because like the way they load it, they don't load the whole dungeon. I think they just load it room by room when you go through, and then they deload the room before it and just make you go in a circle sort of thing. They just make it so you don't realise you're going in a circle. The biggest giveaway to support this is that my my marker never changes elevation despite how deep we go. So I think like it's one of those things that even though we're walking down it, like the map layout itself, like the dungeon's kind of moving up with us, so they never actually change where we are in like the y-axis, where how far underground we are. At least that's my theory anyway. Which would make sense, because then it would save space on the coding, instead of having to make all these elaborate multi-dungeon things that go far beneath the coding of the world. Because if they were here, if you ever phased through the ground, you'd be able to see the entirety of all of them. You'd just see like these ant nests looking things going down a bunch of different areas. These enemies like spamming confusion like they did in the dungeon they were from. So I just try and kill them as quick as I can. Be careful if you're confused as Gladio. There is nothing worse than getting up to 4 times rage, getting confused, tapping the attack button, and one of your teammates being in the firing line. They just hit the fucking deck. They will just die. End of.
How many times?
Time for some action.
Also, be wary of Armager Unleashed when you're confused as well, because that can knock your teammates about. With how powerful it is, just The only thing that's a little weird with Armager Unleashed, in my opinion, is how you get it. Like, it's not rewarded or given to you in some magical way, it's just some rando statue you have to go click on once you've got all the royal arms. Like, eh? I mean, sure, why not, but still. Also, we're at a third and final split for this dungeon. I think the correct path is the second one again on this, but I'm not certain because I don't remember this one as much. Ow.
Nothing to it.
Also, you get quite a few gemstones, so if you're still upgrading weapons, like, you know, make the most of it. Yeah, that's a dead end. That one was my effort to try and check to see if it was a dead end, then get out, but I didn't even get to check. So I just decided to take the wiser option with Prompto and nuke the shit out of them. There we go. Prompto's crack shot is still so good. So we get the wizard shield, but we've already got one, so oh well. But it's still a powerful shield if you don't have it already. I think coming up's a slight pause in the recording, so I had to save the clip and go do something, then come back to it. So you're gonna see like me cut out like 5 minutes of me standing around. Yeah, it's coming up in a second. You'll spot it. There it is. Can't it be helped sometimes? Like, I can't remember what it was for, but I just remember being called away. Like this one, I tried so hard. But the issue that ended up letting me down there is that my warp strike was too close to an enemy, so the game just assumed I was trying to encounter them. I would have been safer just running. I probably would have made it if I just ran, but no, I saw the opportunity and I tried to go for it there and barely missed. Let's move on. But seriously, if you're not too fussed about the loot and you really just want to get a move on, get used to doing that. Like, get a good feel for it, find the optimum way of getting through a room without having to fight what's in it, and then just do it. Chromatic shard. I think it's the second path of the freeze the right way this time round. Oh, and a Mega Phoenix. I mean, not that we need them after the ruins, but still. But we are nearly done with this place now, thankfully. It only takes half an hour to get through one, and this is the first one with the least amount of floors. Keep that in mind. This is the end, by the way. 22 minutes then. This is the rare monster at the end of this one. Yeah, rather oddly there, did you see it? When it went to go for please block this kind of timing, it took away my ability to swap character. Despite the fact it really shouldn't, because it was just a prompt on the screen.
Now imagine you were using a gun. Nice timing, Gladio.
No time for napping.
As you're going to see, it's barely doing anything even now. In hindsight, I should have just swapped the Prompto and go for the easy way, get this thing dead, kill quick. Kind of like what I did at the end of Coastal Mark Tower, where because that boss we was so underleveled for it, it was just better to swap the Prompto, keep my distance and shoot the shits. I know at this point I'm trying to get my rage meter up a bit, just because I want to do Maelstrom and finish the fight. But I'm not getting any good attacks to work with, so nothing ends up happening. So it just sits around doing fuck all half the time. It's so annoying. Like, it's supposed to be like an end of the dungeon mini boss, and it's just doing nothing. The Larchmu Flan, anyway, is level 61 with 274,000 HP, a strength stat of 39,180, vitality of 210 and spirit of 269. It takes half damage from all weaponry and all magic except light, where light it has a 20% weakness to. It's resistant to death but can be killed by Alterna, Poison and Stop. It is classed as a menace based enemy, but that really doesn't mean anything. It's just its way of telling you it's part of the Vault dungeons, or Menace dungeons as the game calls them. You can break parts of it though. Its vitality will drop by 20% if you break its body, which is a bit odd, but whatever. But yeah, there's not much to really give on this. Like all the menace-based enemies, they're just, most of them are just upgraded versions of a basic enemy given boss stats. So if you've dealt with them, you'll know how to deal with them, sort of thing. With the exception of the last couple, where they're ex-bosses given like an uplift, a bit of an upgrade sort of thing. Like none of them are too brutal. But there's not much I can really say on this fight now. It's why I'm falling to silence, because there's nothing I can... There's no commentary to give on beating up a flan. Because they're all fucking useless. They barely attack, and when they do, they're slow as shit. This thing's got way too much HP, bottled up with its defense stat. It wastes time by chewing on you all the damn time. It's just... ugh. This entire part, I knew it was going to be hard to want to commentate over, because there's nothing to commentate over. It's such a boring ass place to go through, all of them. There's very little fun to be had unless you're a collector that wants everything in this game. Then you need to do them to get some of the rare loot. But outside of that, no! These places suck! They're so boring. Like when you think your reward for beating the game, like your post-game experience is a giant labyrinth maze, which is admittedly pretty smart to make, and then 8 gauntlets, like, oh thanks. Especially when the game first launched, that pretty much was all you got. Anyway, we got the Hyper Magnum as our reward, which is actually pretty good for Prompto. And we escaped to the entrance, where once again we went to Hammerhead to rest.
It's cool.
Ding ding. And none of our pictures are going to be great because they're all in the dark of that dungeon. But that being said, next time on Final Fantasy 15 we're going to go back to something more interesting, super bosses. But until then, you guys take care now, and hopefully my throat will be just a little bit more okay next time. Because if we're tackling Omega at some point soon, and I don't want to talk for 50 minutes straight with this throat. But until anyway, you guys take care now.